Got the pen and the paper in your hand. Got the story going that you wanted to expand. We'll help you on your journey. Let us lend you a hand. Join the show. So let's write the book TV show. Grab your pen and paper and we're gonna let it flow. Talking about write the book TV. Join the show.
Welcome to Write the Book TV. I'm your host, Kimberly LaBoo. Each week we show up here interviewing authors and experts about all things writing and publishing. Today we have a fantastic show for you. We're interviewing one of the authors from the anthology, The Mom in Me, practical stories and advice from moms who have survived parenting. Our guest today is LaRay Williams. LaRay, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kimberly. It's so good to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited to finally get to interview you about your chapter.
Yes.
And so your chapter in The Mom and Me was Everyone Needs a Champion. Tell us what that means.
To me, that means that everyone needs someone that will stand up for them to help them along their journey, right? And to just provide them wisdom so that they will have the tools necessary to be successful.
Absolutely. And so when you were 16, I think it is.
That is
Because
correct.
I remember reading in your chapter, you said 16 and pregnant is not just a TV show, it's my reality.
That is true.
And so tell us about that time in your life. You were 16 and found yourself in a situation.
The situation it was too. So I was 16 years old. I was playing volleyball for high school. And my volleyball coach at the time was just like, LaRay, something's not right. I'm like, nope, I'm fine. And she was like, nope, something ain't right. And she actually called my mom with her suspicions.
Snitch.
Yes. And the next thing I know, my mom made an appointment for me, which was unbeknownst to me until after I had taken my driver's test. So it was a good day and bad day all at the same time.
Wow.
So I took my driver's test, I passed it, and then she said the first place you're driving to is the doctor's office. And that's what I did.
Wow.
And so that's how I found myself. And I had a boyfriend at the time, and it was interesting because I knew something was up when he met us at the doctor's office.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
So you said when you found out you were pregnant, your responses ranged from encouraging to discouraging.
Yes.
And so what was the reaction of your parents, people around you in your community?
Yeah.
How did that all play out?
So my parents, they were disappointed,
Mm-hmm.
right? They were, I won't say very disappointed, but they were disappointed. And they basically said, hey, we will get through this. And the first thing my mom said was, you know, I will support you in this, but there are some things that I'm not going to do. And she laid the law down right then and there. And it wasn't difficult. And then she called a meeting with his parents, which was very interesting. And so, you know, we went down to his house and we had a meeting. And they were very receptive, right? And they was like, well, we can help any way that we can, but these are the things that we can't do because of their religious beliefs.
Oh.
Right? And so they made ways around that. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
And so other comments that I received were from, like, I'm going to say it, certain church members, and also my peers in high school at the time, right?
Wow.
I even had somebody tell me that I would amount to nothing.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so it is those negative comments that really fueled me to prove people wrong. Right? That say just because I made this mistake or just because this happened, this does not define me.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think a lot of young girls who find themselves in that situation get a lot of that negative. Of course, people are disappointed because, you know, I think one thing as parents we try to do for our children is we want to make sure you don't end up getting somebody pregnant, getting strung out on drugs, or being sent to jail, right?
Yep,
So we have those things that as parents we try to ensure don't happen, and especially pregnancy, like before it's time. And so how did those you said the negative comments kind of fueled you to push harder, but what kind of emotional impact did that have on you?
So the emotional part of it was, as soon as I held this little 4-pound baby girl in my arms, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm responsible for another life.
Yeah.
Right? And
real.
so with that reality, it was like, okay, this is life. All game stopped.
Yeah.
Right? So I didn't have a lot of time for a lot of foolishness, as they say.
Yeah.
Right? And emotionally, it ranged every emotion that I had ranged from I can't do this to yes, you can do this. And I really counted on my mom and a very good friends of my mom's who were very encouraging. And they were not only with words, but like if I needed a babysitter because I had to study or wanted to go, let's say, on a trip or something of that nature, they would say, okay, I got the baby for the day.
Okay.
Right? So that really helped because they not only said, but they also, I call it, they walked the talk.
Amen.
Right? So they did that. So that what really helped me. And I wanted to share that in my journey, and I wanted to share that in my chapter.
Yeah, because I think a lot of young girls don't have that support.
Right.
You have a lot of young girls whose family and parents will write them off. Right. And your parents stood up and you called them your champions for you. And so do you think that you would have had the same level of success in your life had they not done that?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because my mother was determined, one, I was going to finish high school, right? She was determined I was going to finish high school. And two, she was determined I was going to make something out of myself, that this did not define me, right? So she pushed me even harder to be successful. And matter of fact, I remember when it came time for her to go to college, I said, I'm not going to college. I'm going to get a job. And she was like, what do you mean you're going to get a job? So then when I started applying for the federal government, right, or start applying for jobs, she was like, you can't go to that job, or no, right?
Okay.
And so, she definitely helped define who I am today, but also where I am today, because
That's
she just
awesome.
kept pushing me.
Yeah. So in your chapter, you wrote that you fought every day to overcome society's stigmatisms about being a teenage parent. Why was that so important to you?
Because of the fact that, at the time, you figure almost 40 some years ago, it was not popular for a teenage girl to be pregnant, right? At the time, it was, oh, she's loose, right? Or, oh, she's not going to amount to anything. If she has one, she's going to have multiple children, right? And so it was just, if you were a teenage parent, it just seemed like to society you were doomed, or you had this cloud hanging over your head. Yeah. And I was like, no, it doesn't. As a matter of fact, I know several teenage who were teenage parents. They are very successful today.
What a blessing.
And so that's why it's important that we share our stories so that we, can reach those who are in similar situations to say, hey, look, if I made it, you can make it too, right? And this is how I did it, and so you can do it too.
Nice. That was one of the things. Well, that's what the whole book is about.
Right.
The Mom and Me. It's moms that are sharing their experiences, certain things that they have overcome in parenting. And so we had everything from, a parent that had a child that was incarcerated, a single person, a single mother raising a child, depression, parents dealing with depression with their children, dealing with depression themselves. And so the book is just full of so many great experiences. But I really wanted to bring you in today to just talk about this piece because there may be a parent out there that's struggling right now because their child is in this situation and they don't know how to handle it. And so I like the fact that you said, even though it was not what anybody wanted, that your parents stood up as your champions. And so hopefully that'll be encouraging to someone who may be watching the show to help them handle things a little bit differently, because once it happens, it's there, right? Yeah. And so you have to figure out the best way to deal with it. And I don't believe, tearing the child down, who now also has to deal with this emotionally, is the right way to go. And so as a teenager, what do you remember, what was the thought process there? Because I've not walked that walk, but I can't imagine. First of all, I can't imagine having to go home and tell my parents. But as a teenager, you're young.
Yeah.
And so what
I
does
was
that
young,
feel
and
like?
I think I was in denial.
Okay.
Right. I was definitely in denial because I played softball that spring. I played softball. I was the catcher on a community team. Right. I played softball.
You're necessary.
So, yeah. And then I went in to play volleyball like this. I don't know, maybe, no, I'm not, and I wasn't showing at the time, right? Because I was young, I was athletic. So I was just like, oh, something's wrong. It'll be all right, right?
Yeah.
I remember the night my mom was like, no, something is not wrong. Look at you, LaRay. I was like, what? Right? And then we went to the doctors, and the doctor explained exactly that how I was carrying the baby that
in your back.
Yes, in my back. Yes.
At 16, you're like, what does that
mean? I'm like, what does that mean? Right?
Yeah.
So she was like, that's why, and you're athletic, and so this is what happens, right? And it proved to be true. Luckily, by me playing sports and things of that nature, it did not harm. I was my child. But then what happened, she came 2 months early.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
She came 2 months early. And it was, perfect preemie baby. She went home when I went home, right?
Oh,
and she's
that's good.
thriving today, right? Oh. So, yeah. So here's what I would say to the parents that find themselves in that situation, right? Help your child, right? It's help them process what's going on, but also set boundaries. Because my mother set the boundaries, and so did my dad, right? Yeah. My mom was more of the, okay, we're going to help you. However, we're not the parents. You are. And that's what she told me and my boyfriend at the time.
So what were some of those boundaries, though?
So some of the boundaries were, she would make sure that the babysitter was provided for, right? She would not babysit if I was not in school, work, right? Yeah. And if I wanted to go, out or something, that baby was going with me, right? Unless I had prearranged with them, that I was going out, like say to the movies or something of that nature. And I had to be in by a certain time. Yeah. Right? But as far as the care for the child, care for my daughter, nope. Right? Except for then, like when I graduated and they got a job, if my job took me away, of course, they would, take care of her and do what was necessary and making sure she goes to the babysitters and all that stuff. But yeah, my mom, my dad was like, she's going to be hard now, but wait till that baby comes. And it found out to be true. As soon as she held her, it was all out the door, right? I was like, it was all out the door at that point because they were grandparents, right? And they doted on her and to this day still do, right? Along with their other grandchildren too. So yeah, I would say help them, don't hinder them, and don't talk negative and down to them because they're already in, a state where they are already doubting themselves, right? It happens, life happens, curiosity happens. And, for me at that point, it was, oh, this can't happen to me. right? Oh, yes, it can.
Oh, yes, it can.
So, yeah.
Wow. And so, how has being a teen parent shaped the way that you parented? Were there certain things that came into play when raising your own children? Were you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I always told my children to be better than me, right? And so again, I went with those boundaries, but I had those tough, hard discussions with them, right? Especially when it came to being sexually active, right? That really I did not have, but I was like, listen. I want you to go to college when you graduate, so let's talk about it, right? And I remember one day just setting them down on a dining room table, right? So I had it was much later, right? I had my son, my daughter, and I actually had my niece living with me at the time, and we all sat down at the dining room table, and I'm like, look, y'all are teenagers now, let's talk about some real life things, right? Because you're getting to the age where I was promiscuous, and so we need to talk about some things, right? And I actually set them down. We talked about all of what can happen, and I even gave out condoms. Okay. Right, and showed them how to put them on.
Oh, okay. Took it a step further.
It's life, and that's the thing, right? And of course, their reaction like, "Ew,
Ew.
Mom."
It's necessary though. I think the extent of my conversations was, don't you go out here and get pregnant because I'm not taking care of nobody's baby.
Right.
Right. I'm struggling to raise you and your brother. Don't you bring nothing up in here. Like my mama put the fear in me. I believed her too when she said, "Look, you ain't bringing nothing up in here."
But
so,
but as teenagers, we can hear it.
Yes.
But again, we can say, "Now I can go do what I want to do. It ain't gonna happen." Yes, it can. Yeah. And at that time, it was even things out here worse than what I had to deal with. So
and even more so now for a parent having to deal with it.
So I wanted them to be prepared, right? And I told them, if anything, come talk to me about whatever it is. You come talk to me. But, just by setting standards, higher standards, because I believe that each parent wants their children to do better than what they did. And so that's my goal now, even for my grandsons, right? I tell them now, you be better than your grandmother. You reach higher heights. You be more successful, right? And so when, they come into my office and they look at all the degrees, they're like, Nan, really? I'm like, yeah. I need you to be Dr. So-and-so. I need you to be an entrepreneur, right?
You are degree heavy.
Yes, I am.
You know what they call,
I'm a life
serial
learner.
Student. Yeah, life learner. A serial student.
I'm a life learner. Yep.
That's awesome though, and I've watched you in your journey, and you're always going back and going after the next thing, and I'm like, woo, child. But I love it. And so, what is a piece of advice other than, the things that you've already said? Because somebody may be looking and watching us today who finds themselves in this situation, or even the parent who wants to try to prevent the situation. Parenting looks a lot different now than it ever has. What is a pointer or some piece of advice that you would give, other than to support them, which you've already said? But do you have any other nuggets of wisdom?
Communication, and it's here. I would say, but here it is, listening.
Yes.
Listening to what they have to say. Right now, I live in a multi-generational house with my daughter and her family live with me, and so I have my grandson, one of 5 of my grandsons, living with me now. And it's listening, right? It's taking the time to listen. So at dinner time, there are no electronics allowed.
Oh.
Right? Okay. There are no electronics allowed, and we talk about each other's day and how it went. So he hears the conversation and he understands that this is real life, right? And then he'll, say, well, what do you do with that? And then we'll ask him, well, how was your day? And then he'll tell us about his day and whether or not he had a good day or bad time. And that really starts the process of communication and opening up so that they feel comfortable coming to you. Because as parents, if we're always do what I say and here are the rules and you got to do this and we're yelling and you know what I'm saying, they will close down
Absolutely.
easily. So opening up that conversation, letting them lead, the discussion.
Yeah.
And so even with my other grandsons, I'll do the same. Like I'll just have a day that I spend with each of them, right? I just have something special that I do with each one of them so that they can know that I'm here if they need it.
Wow, that's good. That's really good because that listening piece, like you said, is so important, and also the response.
Yeah.
You have to really pay attention and to how you are reacting to what they come to you with. And I was always big on trying not to overreact when my kids came and told me something, trying to keep that straight face, because once they tell you something and you overreact like that, then they are not likely to come to you and talk to you about anything else again.
Yeah. And that is so
important.
true.
Yeah.
It's so true because of the fact that, they say, well, you reacted this way, right? And, we're not dealing with what they are dealing with now today.
Yeah.
We're not dealing with cyberbullying. We're not dealing with people, trying to come into the schools and shoot the schools up. We never had to deal with that.
Right.
We're not dealing with promiscuity like online. We didn't know what that was. You know what I mean? So I'm like, we're not dealing with that. So our responses have to be different, right? And I'll ask them, well, what does this mean and what is that, right? And I'm like, oh, so back in our day it was this, right? Because I try to tell them, it ain't nothing new, but there are some things that are new.
Definitely. Okay, so I want to switch gears a little bit and just talk about your journey as a writer, because when you wrote in The Mom and Me, it was your first time writing, correct? As an author, becoming an author, right? And so what was that journey like for you?
It was hard.
She said, woo.
It was hard because I knew I wanted to tell my story, and I had two purposes of telling it. One, because my mom had just died. And I wanted to tell people about her legacy and what she really did for me. So it was really paying respect and homage to my mom. And the second one was to let people or, young ladies know that, hey, you can make it out of this situation. So it was, but then I had to find the strength because writing it brought up a whole lot of memories, good and bad. Right? And some of those bad memories I did not want to face. So as you know, right, I procrastinated, right? Even though I knew in my head what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it, it was just the act of actually typing it. And so I actually did that one morning, sitting in my bed. I didn't even go down to my office, sitting in my bed, just typing. And I was typing as the tears were rolling down my eyes, right? Because of the fact I was like, it was a release. And I think it was a release because, again, going back and really dealing with those memories, letting it, flow. And then also the fact that, like I said, my mom had just died, and it was me allowing myself to really grieve the loss. Wow. And saying, here you are, mommy.
Wow. Yeah, see, it's my saying, there's healing through writing.
It is. It
is.
And I'm telling you, I have so much more to write about.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I'm glad you said that. So, just some fun things now. As talking about your journey as a writer, do you prefer pen or pencil?
Pen.
Okay. Laptop or notebook?
Ooh, Lord. Laptop pen, notebook in the beginning, but then I pumped it out. Yep.
Okay. Favorite place to write?
My office.
Oh, okay.
Anywhere quiet that I'm not distracted, but right now that's my office.
Okay. Let's see. Favorite beverage that you like to drink when you're writing?
A cup of tea.
Oh, a cup of tea. Yeah, you are a tea lady. Paperback, Kindle, or audiobook?
Paperback, Kindle when I'm traveling. I haven't done audiobook yet because to me, audiobook is listening and not reading. Even though my sister differs with me.
Me too, me too. I like a good audiobook when it's the author themselves that are reading it, mainly when it's like autobiography or something like that, and listening to them in their own voice if they're a good reader. So every now and again, a good audiobook will do. But I do like paperback also.
All right, so you're going to have to give me a good one to start with.
A good one to start with. I have lots of suggestions on that
All
one.
right.
But yeah. So thank you so much. This has been
Absolutely.
so great. I'm so glad you had an opportunity to come in and talk with us today and to share with our viewing audience all about The Mom in Me and your story in that anthology. It was so wonderful.
Yes.
So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So thank you to our viewing audience for joining us for another segment of Write the Book TV. If you are or someone who's thinking about writing a book, or you know someone else who should write a book, then this is the place for them to be, Write the Book TV. If you'd like to be on the show or you have a question for us, you can go over to www.writethebooktv.com to submit your question, and maybe we'll answer it right here on air during one of our segments. Thank you again for joining us. Take care.
So let's write the book TV show. Grab your pen and paper